Hi, this is Laura Bauer, National Program Director for Operation Family Caregiver. With this webinar, I'm going to walk you through the complete online data collection process. I'm going to log on as if I'm a caregiver that's enrolling in the program and doing the forms. This way, you can go through the entire assessment process and see each form as your caregivers see the forms. So I've set up a test ID, but you would go to the login and put in your own site ID. Mine is going to be this. Then you put in your password, and mine is this. You have to be very careful to copy and paste. These are strange looking passwords for a reason, so that they are impossible to hack. So you really have to be careful. Copy and paste always. Okay, so I have my site ID and my password. Now I'm going to hit the login button. You do not put anything else on this page when a caregiver first goes in to do their pre-assessment. So don't put client ID, do not put assessment number. Okay, so I hit login and I go to the user information page. This is where I put my client ID. So I have client ID 208. This is assessment 1. My caregiver coach initials are NL for Naomi Latini. I put in my date of birth, my age, and my gender, and I click submit. Now this takes me to the consent form. The consent form is the first thing that's going to pop up for the caregiver. They have to go through this and complete it before they can do any of the actual data collection forms. So I'm going to scroll down and show it to you. I'm going to put my initials here and here. I'm going to leave them off here so that you can see what happens if a caregiver doesn't fill everything out. Let's see, my first name, my last name, and I'm clicking submit. Now you see I got a red error message that there's a problem with the data I entered. So the caregiver is going to see that, and they're going to be looking for where they messed up and left something off. Scroll down. And you see that it says you must enter your initials for premature termination. So it's going to guide the caregiver to where they need to do something and make a change. So now I'll put my initials in. Now I click submit. Okay, here are all the data instruments that the caregiver is going to do with instructions at the top. So the first form is the caregiver questionnaire. I'm going to click on that. And this is what the caregiver sees. And I'm just going to be putting some test information in here, and then I will explain how it's going to populate other things. So, bear with me while I do this. I'm going to pretend that I have a husband. His occupation is disabled, so I'm going to put that there. I'm going to say that I have one child, and my child is 6 years old, and he's male. And I've been caring for my husband for 4 years, 10 months, and 8 days. I'm going to say that I work 10 hours a week. There has been a change. I'm working less hours. I miss about 2 days a month because of my caregiving. And my health is just fair. It's somewhat worse than it was 6 months ago. I'm not taking any medication. I'm going to say 10 hours a day I'm helping with this. 4 hours a day with this. And I think I feel like I'm on duty 24 hours a day. I'm going to put Wounded Warrior Project here and click Submit. Okay, so it crossed off Form 1 because I've completed it. It has added Form 6, Spence Children's Anxiety Scale for one child. So depending on what the caregiver puts in on the caregiver questionnaire as to how many children they have, it will give them that many Spence Children's Anxiety Scales to fill out for each child. So I just wanted to make sure that you could see that. All right, now I'm going to move to the second form. This is the Zaret Screen Measure of Caregiver Burden. I'm going to leave an answer off again just so you can see what would happen if that happens with a caregiver. All right, I'm hitting Submit. And again, it's going to point me to where I need to make a correction. So I've got to choose something here. I'm going to go in and choose it. You'll also see that it automatically is calculating the score. The score tallies itself at the bottom. The higher the score, the higher the burden. So when the caregiver completes this same form again at the end of the program, you, the coach, will be looking to see if the score has decreased, because that will show you and the caregiver that their burden has decreased. All right, I'm going to hit Submit. And now that one is crossed off. So let's go to the third form. This one will also self-score as I enter my responses. Okay, so you see that it's given me, it's tallied up a score of 33. Now, you're not clinicians, but you should know that a total score of 16 or higher is considered depressed on this scale. So when you review the forms after the caregiver has completed them, if you see your caregiver has a score higher than 16, you're going to advise them to see a professional for further evaluation and treatment. You can help get them referred if they don't have anyone in mind. Also, this is going to tell you that you're going to really need to put an emphasis on self-care. That might be a good place to start with the problem-solving training you're going to be doing with this caregiver. If their depression can be brought under control, then their ability to problem solve will naturally be increased. Okay, I'm going to hit submit. And that one is crossed off. Now what I'm going to do right now is what may happen with a caregiver. I'm going to stop with the online assessment process because someone has come over to my house and I don't want them to see what I'm doing. So I'm going to shut down my browser. Okay. So it's gone. Once they leave, I'm going to go back in and log in using the same information I started off with. Something important, if you have a caregiver that's doing this and they're running into a problem, it's wanting to reload that one that I just was on and act like it's already happened, that it's already completed, have them go to their browser setting and clear their browsing data. That's a good troubleshooting thing to do. I'm going to clear all my browsing data so that now when I go in and start this over again, it won't pull up the wrong thing. Okay, so I'm going back in with my site ID and my password, which again I'm going to carefully copy and paste. Okay, so this time I'm going back in, so it is considered a return assessment. So I'm going to put my client ID and assessment 1. And I'm going to click login. It's going to bring me back to user information page. I don't have to do anything with that. Just go to the bottom and hit submit. And see, I'm back where I had stopped, and I can go right on to form number 4, which is the pill. This is going to take a minute for me to fill out, but just bear with me. I think it's important that you see what the caregiver sees. Okay, so I have chosen an answer for each one of these, and it has totaled up my score at the bottom. So if your caregiver has a high score, then again, self-care is going to be something you focus on during your time working with them. When they complete the post-assessment at the end of working the program, you're going to be looking to compare the scores and make sure that it has gone down, and it should. All right, now they hit submit, and we go to the satisfaction with life. Okay, so if they were to hit strongly disagree to everything, that would give them a score of 5. So 5 is the lowest score that a caregiver could have, and that would indicate a very low satisfaction with life. So again, what you're going to be looking for when they do the post-assessment is to make sure that this score is changed. So my caregiver has a total of 8 here, and you'll be looking for it to significantly increase when they do their post-assessment. So I'm going to click Submit. Now I go to the Smith Children's Anxiety Scale. And again, this is populated because I put that I had one child who was a male, and his age is 6. This is caregiver self-report. So they're going to be gauging what they think their child worries about or doesn't worry about. If the child is too young for an item to be of any significance, then have the caregiver enter never. In other words, if the child is 1, they aren't going to be able to answer most of these, so they're going to put never in. Okay, it's telling me there's a problem. Let's scroll down and see what it is. And you'll see that there's a couple of places that I accidentally skipped. And I'll go in and answer those. Okay, now had the caregiver said that they had 3 children on the caregiver questionnaire, and it would have generated 3 Smith Children's Anxiety Scale, make sure that you tell your caregivers to complete them in order of child age, youngest to oldest. So if I had a 6-year-old, an 8-year-old, and a 10-year-old, the first one I fill out is going to be the 6-year-old, the second one is going to be the 8-year-old, and the third one will be the 10-year-old. Okay, now I'm at the final form, the social problem solving scale. All right, the scoring for this is complicated, so don't worry about that. The But you can see if you look at these questions that dependent upon how your caregiver answers them, you're going to know when you review this if they're an impulsive problem solver or an avoidance problem solver. That's going to help you know how to tailor your approach with them when you're working with them. Okay, it gives me my score of 35. Again, don't worry about what that score says. You click Submit. And I have successfully gone through all of the data instruments. So now I'm going to log out. Okay. Now, prior to the final session with your caregiver, and remember, they only need to complete 75% of their sessions in order to be considered a completer. They're going to repeat this entire process. Except now when they go in under Return Assessment and they put their client ID, they're going to put assessment number 2. And that's going to give us the post data. Okay, now I want to walk you through how you can access the forms and print them out to review and place in your caregiver's file. So again, I want to clear my browsing history just to be on the safe side. Okay. I'm going to go back into the system and log in. Okay, so when you as the coach are going in to view these forms, you're going to enter the client ID and assessment number under Return Assessments. So I was client ID 208, and you want to look at my assessment number 1. Okay, so you're going to hit Login. Now that user information page is going to show up. You don't do anything here, okay? You don't change anything. You don't enter anything. All you have to do is go down and click Submit. And there are the instruments. Okay. I want to look at the caregiver questionnaire that my caregiver filled out. And there it is. So you can view all of the responses that I made on the assessment. You can use the print option in your file menu, which should look something like this. Or you can do Command-Control-P to print it. And all you have to do is go back to the landing page and print out all the other ones. I think it's a very good idea that you do that so that you've got a paper copy of what that caregiver submitted, and you can go back and review it. So that's it. Hopefully that helps make it clear to you about what the caregiver is seeing and the common issues or things being left off. It's going to tell the caregiver where that happened and to go back. They're not going to be allowed to submit and go on to the next form until they have successfully completed that form. So, thank you.